I've heard that sentence basically all throughout my life. Why can't you just speak up? What are you so scared of? And then whenever I would actually say something, people would reply, oh, she can speak. So it just felt like I couldn't really win in any situation. So today's topic is something that I went throughout all of my teenage years. Now that I'm an adult, is not very prevalent in my life, but when I was a teenager, being a quiet person really bothered me. I was very insecure about being quiet and being judged for it. If you're generally a more quiet person, a more reserved person, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Is that feeling of wanting to say something but being very nervous about saying it, whether it be during class or during a social situation, just thinking in your head that you're going to be judged by whatever you say. But then also thinking in your head, if you don't say anything at all, then you're also going to be judged. So it's that kind of war inside your head that forms, and what gives a lot of people a lot of anxiety. It definitely gave me a lot of social anxiety when I was growing up. There could be a lot of reasons to why a person is quiet. It could be that they really value what they say and they think about it very thoroughly before saying anything. This happened to me personally a lot. I would always think about something in my head and just repeat it over and over, trying to find the best way for me to say it. It happened to me a lot in class. Whenever I knew the answer to something, I would never just raise my hand really quick and try to answer the question. I would just think about it in my head and think about how I'm gonna say the answer, and then I just usually never ended up saying it because I was just too scared of raising my voice. If you're an extrovert or someone that is just generally very outspoken, I'm sure this must sound crazy to you, but for people like us that are more reserved and more quiet generally, it's a really big problem and it's a really big deal to just say something and speak your mind freely. I remember a few years ago when I went to VidCon and I was hosting this filmmakers networking event. And I had to speak into a mic and introduce everybody and what we were doing that day. And I remember being so nervous that I didn't eat anything until I had to speak on the mic. And after that, then I was able to eat because I thought that I was gonna throw up. I made it such a bigger deal than it was in my head because I was just nervous of having to speak into a mic in front of people. Same thing happened the other day when I was at the YouTube space and I had to show people my channel trailer. It was like in front of a crowd and I had to speak about myself. This just terrified me, and I was again thinking about it in my head over and over, rehearsing what I was gonna say about myself. I know me better than anybody. I don't need to rehearse my own life. This nervousness and this insecurity that takes over you whenever you have to speak up in front of people. That's something that has bothered me my entire life. As I said before, it's not as prevalent in my adult life. These two examples that I just gave, it's not something that happens often. But when I was a teenager, it really was a day-to-day thing. Whenever I went to class, whenever I had to be put in a group with people that I wasn't really friends with. And all of this made me judge my own quietness and my own shyness. Which brings me to my next point, and that is shyness. Another reason why someone might be a quiet person and more reserved is because they're just shy, and casual conversation just doesn't come easily to them. I'm still generally very shy as an adult. I don't think casual conversation has ever come easily for me. I would rather bury myself in a hole than having to have small talk with people. It's just something that makes me very uncomfortable, and it's not something that comes very easily to me. Like I said before, I feel like I have to rehearse things before I say them, and when it's just casual and spontaneous, I get very nervous. Of course, when I was a teen, that was a lot worse than it is now. But it's still something that I don't really like, and I don't like to put myself in those situations. One example of this is I was taking this class, and at the end of the class I always took the elevator, but there were also some stairs that you could take. So I went into the elevator, and there was this other girl that always went to the elevator with me as well. As we were going down in the elevator, it would just be quiet, and then after a bit she would be like, oh, so what other classes are you taking? Oh, I'm doing a creative writing class and directing and What about you? Oh, I'm in the actors program. Yeah, I'm doing acting. Okay, cool. Bye. I don't know why, but it makes me so uncomfortable. So after a couple of times that happened, I started to take the stairs because I didn't want to talk. It's not because I want to be antisocial, it's just that it makes me physically uncomfortable, and I can't stand small talk. I'd rather just not talk. I don't know, I don't do it because I don't like people. I like people. It's just that I don't like to talk that much. I don't know if I'm explaining myself right. Please let me know if you can relate to that, because I feel really weird now that I'm saying it out loud. Another reason for people just being generally quiet and not speaking much is because they're an introvert. Now, I know that being an introvert and being shy is not the same thing at all. I happen to be both, but not every introvert is a shy person, and not every shy person is an introvert necessarily. So yeah, if someone is very quiet and they're an introvert, it might be because they have reached their threshold of interaction for that day, and they just don't have the energy left to engage in conversation. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why someone might be a quiet person, and something that has always bothered me is when other people point it out and they feel like it's something to criticize about them. I'm pretty sure at least the majority of people who are more quiet and more reserved really judge themselves for it and feel insecure about it. I know I did a lot when I was a teenager, and other people love to reinforce that into our brains. You have to speak up. Why are you so quiet? Why don't you say anything ever? Why can't you just go up and talk to them? Why can't you just raise your hand and answer? It's not that easy. This is not something that you can just fix with a magical word. You can just say, stop being shy, and suddenly I am a social butterfly. It does not work that way. I feel like when we're younger, we judge ourselves a lot harder than when we're adults. It's a lot of what will people say about me. I was someone who was always very scared of what people would think about me, what my other classmates would think about me, and honestly, whenever I look back, I just want to knock myself in the head and just tell myself, don't care so much about what people think. I can say that now because when I think about it, I just find it really stupid that I thought that way. When you're in that situation, it's not that easy to just be like, oh, just don't care. And we feel like we have to fit in, we have to be cool, we have to be outspoken. I remember specifically I had this English class. I was probably in like 10th or 11th grade, and I remember the teacher was asking something. It was just one of those rare days where I was like, I want to answer. So as soon as I did that and the teacher called on me to answer, I could hear someone in the back saying, oh, she decided to speak. And then other people laughing and making fun of the fact that I was just answering whatever the teacher asked, and I decided to not be quiet that day. Right away, I looked at them and I was kind of in shock. So the teacher, once he heard that, he right away turned to them and said, yeah, she can speak, let her answer. So I said my answer. At this point, I was feeling very, like, all eyes were on me, and I hate that feeling. So I was feeling very overwhelmed, and right away I was like, may I go to the bathroom? Went to the bathroom and just cried. Yeah. It's so weird that she's not speaking. It's so weird that she is speaking. Where does that leave me? Should I speak? Should I not speak? Am I going to be made fun of, even if I do speak or if I don't speak up? Also, the fact that the teacher was defending me publicly, now in retrospect, that's a very nice thing to do and I appreciate it. But at the time, I felt very observed and very like, oh, the teacher has to speak up for her and she can't defend herself. At the time, that's what I felt, and so yeah, I went to the bathroom and I cried because I don't know, emotions. Why are you so quiet? I just am, and there is nothing wrong with that. That just means that you can't accept other people that aren't like you and that are a little bit different, a little bit more quiet, a little bit more reserved. Why would you want everybody to be the same as you? I feel like without quiet people, without reserved people, everybody would just be talking and nobody would listen. I feel like I'm a very good listener. I analyze a lot, and I feel like all of that is because of my quietness and the fact that I am able to analyze things before I say them. Even the fact that I make YouTube videos and I talk to the camera is something that has shocked a lot of people in my life. A lot of people have reached out to me saying, wow, I never thought of all people you would be making a YouTube channel and talking to people on the internet and talking to a camera and putting yourself out there. If someone is brave enough to do something, don't reiterate that they are usually not that brave. Also, some traits that you have when you're a teenager may not always stay the same when you're an adult. I feel like I have come a long way from my shyness and my quietness when I was a teenager. I still have some of those things, but I don't feel like I'm nearly as shy or quiet as I was before. I feel like I'm a lot more brave, a lot more independent and mature, and I know myself a lot better, and I still care what people think about me, but not to an extent where I will stop doing whatever I want to do. I feel like now I know people would judge me, and it does bother me, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because if I don't, I'm gonna regret it. That's my approach now. When I reach my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, I will keep changing. My personality might keep changing. I feel like we shouldn't just label ourselves as, I am a quiet person and I will always stay the same. I am an extroverted and outspoken person, and that's who I will be forever. Because it's not true. You might be an extroverted person who will become an introvert in the future. You never know. If you are quiet right now and you don't like being quiet and you don't like being introvert and reserved, just know that it might change in the future, and it will not be from day to night. But also, don't beat yourself up for it. I used to beat myself up for being quiet, and it just led me nowhere. It actually stopped me from doing things that I really wanted to do. I used to be very, very into theater when I was a kid, and I was in some theater classes and I really enjoyed it. And then I started to care about what people thought of me, and so I stopped doing theater. Just live your life and don't care. You're quiet and that's fine. Please let me know if you can relate to this. If you're quiet, let me know your stories, and maybe if you changed with the years, or just tell me anything that you're feeling. Just leave me a comment and I will answer it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.